What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from Alex CFE, and today we have another video, this time discussing some decks you might actually see this BCS season and ones that you really need to be prepared for. So BCS season is a couple days away at the time of recording of this video, and we have Toronto coming up first, and there's there is also New York at the end of the month. There's also Vienna. There's a lot of different places that are having their BCSs, so I feel like it's a great time to kind of talk about this and kind of give you like a heads up on what you might see. And I'm actually going to be kind of pairing this along with an article that I was reading earlier. Commander Jaime actually just posted this. I know he's going to be ramping up to do a lot more like article content this upcoming season, so make sure you're following him and just, you know, reading this stuff as it comes out, because I think this is actually written. I think content is something that's not really explored too much in our game, and it's a good way that a lot of people can read just because, or kind of learn, because some people like to read through things and like they need it over and over, and it's easier to digest than a video. But without further ado, let's hop into it. This is going to be more like a review of this article, as well as my own points and tips and just like things that I think you additionally kind of have to watch out for. So let's get started right off the bat. So first and foremost, awesome article. I love the format. It's really easy. It's very digestible and has a lot of like points that kind of point you like elsewhere to other content that could really help you out. So first over here, your Chronicle. It's been tearing up the meta, obviously, for the past, you know, almost a year and a half, 2 years. I don't really know off the top of my head, but as long as, you know, I've cared to remember far back. This is Steam Jet or Ride Up Jet. So I know it as like Jet Maidens, but again, there's no like official name. Ride Up Jet. Both of these decks are pretty solid. I would say, honestly, if I had to pick, I think that Ride Up Jet, like the regular jet, is very, very powerful, but at the same time too, like Steam Maidens still have the ability to ride down, which really helps you out. If you're fearing Gridora and you go first, this is the ability to kind of get around, get around essentially the Gridora stride and the lock that they would have put you under. So this is actually a pretty viable deck still, even with the ban. And Toronto to 1, as Jaime kind of covers over here, still doesn't completely kill the deck. I think it's still in the realm of like being playable, and it actually is a good counter pick to something that you might see as being very prevalent in the meta. So I think this is, you know, hits the nail on the head. This is kind of like what you want to see. I will say that the Crest Jet, it does probably have like a higher ceiling a lot of time, but as soon as you go into your second stride with Solishma, like, or your first stride really, your first Solishma turn, you should be ending the game. And there's a lot of different ways you can play this, or a couple different techs at this point, and I don't think, with no results, I don't think the build is like 100% solved. We'll see if it is after this past weekend or maybe in the coming month, but this is still a deck that you need to know, you need to prepare, and you need to just realize what the deck does and really be able to kind of go against it with your own game plan. So I still think it is very solid. It was a great choice to kind of include this in the list over here. And also, I love that he did give this shout out. And again, this is the point out to other content really that you can go watch on his channel and other people's channel. I think there's other stuff down below as well. And so you can see Crow talk about his deck, and being able to kind of get that insight from like a top tier player on a top tier team is really, really helpful. So definitely, like I said, go check it out afterwards. But yeah, you need to know about that deck. And then next up, another boogeyman in the room, Mega Colony. I know there's been a lot of debate with Gridora. Is it legal? Should it be like legal or whatever? You know, I'm not here to debate that at this point. It is what it is. It's not banned out or anything. So you need to know about it and what it does, and like you need to know how to kind of prevent it. So essentially, you're gonna get stunned out one way or another by things that you call through Gridora. Like, you have to know that when you ride up against this deck that you are going to kill them. There is no other way to kind of get around it. They have like a really insane ride up turn too, so I don't think grade 2 gaming is necessarily correct. There has to be a lot of different things, and it's very matchup to matchup, but make sure that you know what this deck does, and whatever deck that you are playing, you know how to play into it. That's all I can kind of say. I can't go into specifics for every single deck, but essentially Gridora does lock you out from calling G guards, calling from deck. It's been doing this for, you know, how many years now, with the new stride up, you know, the new, what is it, the grade 3, the stride up turn that you kind of go into. I feel like it's just gained a whole nother level of like consistency, power, and it's just an excellent deck overall. Definitely in the top, you know, it's top tier. I don't know where exactly it falls. I think we do definitely need to see some more results overall, but something that I personally think is extremely strong. So you just need to be aware of that. And again, there is a deck profile here. I'm not sure when this is from, but I think that's Team Ham. Yeah, that is. So go check them out if you want to check out a profile. I'm going to be releasing a profile for this also. I think I just want to like make sure like I'm tuned to the right kind of place with this, because this is really a deck that I've played for a long time, and like you know, pre-history collection. I was playing this when this wasn't so popular after the Order Colony got banned out, and I still thought it was really strong. And I think that if you're a good player, you can really beat absolutely anybody with this deck. So at this point, it's even stronger. So go check their thing out too. Nubatama is one that I don't 100% know if I agree or not, but at the same time, I think it's still a really solid rogue pick. I don't think this is like a tier 1 deck that like you need to be on the absolute lookout, but it's very important to understand domination, what this deck does, and like how it interacts with your cards, because you can easily fall into a trap with this deck, and I'll explain a little bit later into this what I'm talking about. But Oboro now is a solid ride up turn. It does that whole dominate stride thing. The fact that they can kind of go and like farm protect markers too really hurts some of the bigger, you know, punchier decks that hit a little bit harder, decks that can't like whittle your hand down as effectively. And we're at like a weird state in the game now where I think things are, I don't want to say things are balanced, but it's very much like a rock paper scissors almost, and this fits very like oddly into that kind of situation. So great call out too with this being banned out. We cannot use that anymore, but an interaction with the new stride, is it here? No, sorry for that little spoiler, but an interaction with one of the new strides out of the Festa collection and this over here, just be aware that when they call this grade 3, what is this, the Mitsukaze, whatever they call, like, it essentially makes you call that new stride from drop if you want to. If you choose not to, your opponent gets 10k and like an extra draw. Do that every single time that you're up against this, and if they have this on board, do not call anything, because anything you call to your rearguard circle will then be ineligible. Let's say you called a grade 1, a grade 2, and a grade 0. You cannot call any of those to Guardian Circles once this skill is live. And there's tons of ways to tuck the grade 3 into Soul now, and with the just regular Rene turn as well. I feel like you actually have a lot of different options in this deck. And the thing is, I don't think a lot of people are going to know how to play against it, but I don't think I've seen a list where I'm 100% like confident that yes, this player like knows 100% what they're talking about. Like, this is the list. I don't think I've seen that, and I haven't built it either personally, but I know there's definitely a little bit more to uncover with this deck, so I could see it being included in this list. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw this, but I wouldn't be expecting, you know, 7 rounds to sit there and face it every single round. So, you know what it does, understand it, but at the same time, I wouldn't, not that I wouldn't worry about it, but I wouldn't like break a sweat over it. And same thing with like Dimension Police. I think the Nyliner build that he's kind of talking about here has been super consistent for a while, and yeah, I think in recent Japanese premium event it did top, but I don't like to use Japanese results really as kind of like a placeholder for the West overall. I think that our meta is a little bit different, a little bit more you know, I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's just gonna be a little bit different. But Nyliner is still a scary deck. Again, rogues out to the point where like you can just sit there and like on your first ride up, on your first stride, whatever it is, you can close out, and this is proven to be a consistent deck, something that is just really solid over time. And I think that maybe it's a little better than the Grand Gallop build, but I've been working on another build too that actually involves another unit. I think I'm going to release that video. It's a little bit more of a fun deck, but that is definitely something you could play as well. Like there's actually a couple options. I don't think Dimension Police is 1000% solved at all, but again, I wouldn't be surprised to see this. I wouldn't be going into each round expecting to see it and really preparing or tuning my deck against it. Next up here, let me just take a water break for a second. Sorry about that. This bottle's really big, but over here we have Murakumo, and I think this is a yes and a no. Like, I absolutely think this is a great deck now. More so the Yasui build. Shiryuki's okay. Shiryuki's always been solid. If you don't know, again, what it does, you have to know. Essentially, don't give them a bunch of counterblasts. They're just going to neg your Vanguard, and they're going to swing a million times at you, and it's very annoying. But kind of easy to play around with. You just have to make sure that you have your kill turn ready and you're not giving them too many resources ahead of time, and that's almost what Yasui does, but Yasui can get through resource denial a lot better. You have a ton of multi-attack. I feel like there is a better deck if you're going for that multi-attack kind of play style. This is a very good deck, probably at like tier 1.5 I want to say, but there is a tier 1 deck I think that almost does it a little bit better, but I would still say this is a good pick to put on this list. And don't be surprised, again, Yasui can actually, I think he talks about it here, yeah, it can push for a bunch of attacks, yeah, with just 1 CB. You don't need a ton of CB anymore. You're making solid power. You're constantly calling things over, and like, your opponent is under no, responsibility to tell you like how their attack pattern is going to play out. So if you're unable to like map their turn and really know what you're talking about, you can get caught off guard really quickly and actually very violently with this deck. So just be aware of that. Again, for something like this, I don't have enough experience playing against it at this point to know how to play, but things like this over here, again, Loopville is like another great channel. I love to watch them. They're playing a game over here. They're very high level players, and watch a gameplay video and see if what the deck is kind of got going for it, because it has really great strides at this point. It like has a little bit of everything, which I like, and I think there's actually unique ways to build Yasui at this point. And then over here, I don't know if this is the last one, this might be, but Narukami. So Eradicators is still super strong. I don't know if it's like a tier 1A, but I think it's hanging around that conversation. Essentially, he's saying Vanquisher or Erads. I personally think the best kind of build, and again, there are some variances I've seen over the past couple months, or past month or so, but some kind of form of Vanquisher and Eradicator kind of together is actually the best, because you have the option for the ride up, you have the option to just kind of do your regular stride game when you're going on Steve over here, the Sweep Command Dragon, better known as Steve in my opinion. I think also you can look to the KSC, the premium tournament that they held, the no OT one. I get it, there's not an OT in it, but I think the results will still pretty much speak for themselves. This came in first or second. This was like in the top there. I know they didn't actually play top cut. They just let the positions lie where they were after Swiss, because it was a really long day. Best 2 out of 3. I don't blame them for that. Don't get me wrong, but this ended up settling at that had one of the best records out of Swiss, and still extremely powerful. It has a really good ride up now. It just farms resources very easy, controls you, and it also aggresses you at the same time. This is another one where like you're kind of doomed if you do, doomed if you don't, but I think it's better to play for the Stunverse. I've seen people say like Stunverse is still like the go-to here. I don't 100% know. Again, this is another deck that I'm like playing through, kind of walking through, but again, know what this deck does. This has been doing the same thing for like a year now. It just has essentially like a better ride up turn to kind of tool out a little bit more. So I think that this deck can go the extra mile, and this is a deck where I think it's pretty tough to beat them in the long run. Like they'll have like one stride turn and they'll just absolutely beat you down. They have a lot of different options, a lot of control stuff. Your attack patterns have to be kind of optimized. You can also do like a very defensive, annoying build in Narukami as well. I don't know if that's really the move with this right here, but there are tons of different ways you can kind of play this deck, and I would not be surprised to see a fair majority, not majority, but a fair amount of players really playing Narukami in the room. So know what that does 100%. So that really was the I guess the end of his list, and I kind of want to go over some of these right here, because I think that just to address the elephant in the room, Bermuda Triangle with Melissa, it is I don't want to say it's the best deck, like I just can't say that, but I think it's an extremely deadly deck that if your opponent draws Solitaire and plays Solitaire correctly, you just lose. Like there is no counterplay. There's very limited 1 grand blue interaction. I think there's like there might be like one other thing at a certain point that can maybe throw them off, but it's really like if they draw the right cards, if they get to grade 3, they absolutely win. So I have the profile actually recorded. I did a video with somebody who's been, I know for a fact, has dumped like close to like, cumulatively in the group where this is being discussed, probably there's been over 100 hours of playtesting, but like these people have tuned this deck to the point where I think I've played against it multiple times. Like I think it is extremely deadly, and you will see results for it personally. But yeah, Melissa, you have to kind of just rush them down. Just go dump your entire hand. They're not going to swing on you, and if they do, it's typically not going to be game ending or anything like that. Like you have to just try to push them and close out the game as soon as you can, because if they get to grade 3 and they draw correct cards, it's done. It's completely done. I think some people might be on the deck that aren't 100% ready, because it does take a lot of time, and I'm not discrediting anybody who plays this deck absolutely in any way. So I think that this is a very important deck to realize, all right, I have to put my foot on the gas. Like I just have to hit the gas in general and just like actually end them, or else I'm dead. So Aquaforce I feel like is okay. Or actually, yeah, let's start here. Just Grand Blue. Yeah, I think this is definitely a deck that we should have talked about maybe up top. Maybe another time we'll get into another article about it or something. But like Night Rose is really strong. G Night Rose, V Night Rose, like you can still use both. This is an extremely strong deck overall. Can play through a whole lot. Can play through damage denial. Can play through control overall. And I think that it's just super solid. If you are playing against Ghidorah, like it can be a little bit tough, but I think there's still ways they do get around certain stuff. I'm not 100%. I'm not like a Grand Blue premium player, so I can't really speak to it to a very, I guess, detailed kind of extent. But Aquaforce Ride Down, I think the Ride Down one, honestly, is just a little bit better. Just try to get around maybe some of the Ghidorah stuff, or like avoid that kind of situation. But essentially, it's still not absolutely insane. I think it's definitely taken a step back, but it's still powerful. Thavas G, I don't know anything about, really. I don't know a list off the top of my head. I don't think it's extremely powerful. Pale Moon, Nightmare Dolls, or Harry. Harry has the ride up now, I believe. Right? Am I crazy? I kind of forget. I don't really know too much about the Harry build, but Nightmare Dolls is pretty solid. Still you know, if you give them enough counterblast, if they go and do that little attack loop, it could just spell the end of your game. There's more defensive tools now for sure, and like people are aware of this kind of combo, but again, something you should know and should be, maybe you'll see a couple of them in the room. Like I would definitely would not be surprised. Spike Brothers, Rising Greedon, still an amazing deck. Just ride up, try to kill them on your first grade 3 turn, and if you let them stride on you, like chances are you're kind of dead, so you have to close out the game beforehand. Dark Irregulars, NLK, a little bit more of a I don't want to call this a solitaire deck, but it's almost, if you kind of get into the full combo with it, it's very hard for certain decks to kind of play against it. And if you are a high tier player or facing a high tier player that knows how to actually play this deck, I feel like in the right hands, this deck is still absolutely crazy, still like at that 1.5 kind of tier level. It's just, it has consistency issues, and I think it depends. Is that person prepared, and did they draw the right cards that day? Tachikaze Gaia, you might see a couple people kind of play this, but I don't think it's in the realm of being a super popular deck, so I won't really go too much into it. Gurgit Percival actually is extremely strong. You are still playing for Ultima. The Ultima turn with this, if you give them the 2 counterblasts, if they can go into it and just like kind of get that, like, it is crazy. They are going to kill you, so be careful of Gold Paladin. I think that a lot of people are sleeping on this. A lot of people haven't played against it. I've tested against it pretty extensively, and I would say it's definitely a strong deck. It has its faults for sure, and it's not the best deck in the room, but I would not be surprised to see this. Genesis Regalia been, you know, I like to call this a Sky Striker pretty much of Vanguard. It's been doing the same thing. It's going to stand up on you, it's going to swing with big crits and whatnot, and it just has a really solid game plan overall. Very consistent, a lot of tribal support, a very good deck. Jewel Knights Premium. Jewel Knights in V is my favorite V deck right now to play. In Premium, it's even better. It's really actually crazy. If you meet somebody who knows how to play this, I feel like they almost have the advantage, because I don't even personally know how to correctly play against this in Premium. They will just blow you out of the water. Like, this is a great deck. Definitely do a little more research if you are worried about it. I'm sorry I can't give more detail. Innis or Cecilia Reverse, if you know your opponent's playing the Innis build, do not give them any counterblast. Like, straight up, don't swing into them. Don't let them do their like little, you know, fancy stride go while you're still on grade 1, stride into their cyclone, and then, you know, they have a crazy what is it, the Katrina turn afterwards. I did a profile on this on the channel. Go check it out if you are interested in that build. Cecilia Reverse also is very solid. I don't think I ever brought the build to the channel, but I do have one. Commander Jaime himself has a build actually on his that's actually I think pretty good overall. I think I would definitely reference that if I needed to build this. Link Joker, Chaos, or Messiah, both of these decks are really solid. Chaos is obviously way more control. Again, you have to just learn how to play around that, and it's unfortunate if you don't have a person to play against and like really test against with Chaos. It's a difficult deck to like theorize and like plan out your turns, but try to get as much practice against this deck as possible, because I know some people are thinking about playing at certain places, and I think I rate it as a very high tier deck. Messiah is even good too. It has a really solid like farm ride up turn, can put on big pressure with the Volco and everything, so two very different strategies, but still both very solid overall. This is a deck that I think is definitely in tier 1, and this is what I was kind of referring to with Murakumo up top as well. If you are trying to play a multi-attack deck and you want the best version of that, Victor is actually insane. Like, it is crazy, the numbers that you're generating, the number of attacks, the fact that you can do multiple different swings. You can essentially kill on 0 damage. The only thing that does counterblast at this point is I'll show you the build. I'll bring it to my channel. There's a grade 3 and also your stride. Like, that is pretty much it. Nothing else counterblast. Like, it's so hard to resource deny this deck. It is making, like I said, insane numbers. The ride up turn is amazing. You know, you even maybe want to go into that stride again. It is that good, like, with the way this deck is built in the current, what I believe to be the correct list overall. So not too much variance there. I've seen some multiple different builds, but I think if you're playing this in the correct way, there is more or less a settled list with like 1 or 2 cards you can maybe change out, but that is pretty much everything. And I think he actually did a really good job of covering some of the stuff. I might wanted to have like seen a couple of these up top. Maybe would have taken out Murakumo. I think you'd see maybe take out DP and Nubatama, but I know those are decks that he kind of likes. He's talked about on the channel. I think that overall this was a great article and something that people should really be trying to do a little bit more. If you are interested in writing, you know, you could always reach out to him. I might do one of these too or something like that, a little bit of a deep dive. But I think that for the upcoming season, there are a lot of different things you can see in the room, and I think the meta, not to say it's wide open, but it will be a little bit more diverse, I think, than most people think it is. And I think this is a great tool to kind of get ready and like prepare yourself, something to like point back to. So, you know, if you did enjoy this video, maybe leave a like on it. And then if you did enjoy my content in general, maybe consider subscribing to the channel. Absolutely appreciate it. Thank you guys in advance. If you are interested in purchasing any of the cards that you see here that we reviewed today, you can use my TCG Player affiliate link down in the description below. Absolutely no cost to you. You can help support the channel. I will never ask you guys for money, subscriptions, monetary subscriptions, things like that. So that definitely helps me out a whole lot. And I just want to wish all of you guys good luck this year at BCS. It is a great community. I think this is a turning point for Vanguard where we're either going to make or break almost in a way. So I hope that you guys have a great time and get the result that you're looking for. And really at the end of the day, just enjoy the memories that you make with your friends along the way. So thank you guys again. This is Alex from Alex CFE signing out.